At UFC Rio Rancho, Jan Blachowicz defeats Corey Anderson via TKO in the first round. So we are dealing with a bit of an interesting scenario. This would kind of make him the de facto #1 contender, depending on how the rankings eventually work out. But we are still living in this shadow where Dominic Reyes kind of has this interesting relationship now with Jones, where he maybe should get the immediate rematch. We don't really know. Brian Campbell, I will start with you, sir. What should happen next? Has Jan Blachowicz done enough to get the next shot at Jon Jones, or do we run back UFC 247?
It's tough, Luke. I think in some ways we're still in the same argument I had last week, which is, what is Jon Jones' future? Is it going to heavyweight? And if that's the case, then you sort of take a step back and start to build around Dom Reyes. Give him an interim title or a full title shot for the vacant one against a Thiago Santos, against a Jan Blachowicz, who certainly, I don't know if I want to outright said achieved and deserves a title shot, but he's damn close, all right? He's won, 6 of his last 7? Yeah, there's that argument to say the 3 best wins, the 3 finishes, the 3 most recent ones have come against maybe blown up middleweights. I've heard that argument out there. But where Jan Blachowicz achieved and did exactly what he should have done is he's coming off that win over Jacare, which was very boring. He did not show a better side of him. It was almost survive in advance. For him to come out against a red-hot Brand and Corey Anderson, who was, fighting with such purpose, such anger on top of him, and to finish him as quickly and defiantly as he did, he's in the conversation. So I think it comes down to this, Luke. Dom Reyes, Jon Jones too, that's going to do some business. That's going to move some product. Do you want to do that at International Fight Week? Do you want to pair that with Jorge and Kamaru? That's a damn good sort of Super Bowl card this summer in Las Vegas if you want to do that. I don't think you can really go to Jon against Jan next without kind of flipping the middle finger at Dom Reyes, who everyone believes won. So many people believe, not everyone, so many people believe won that fight. And I don't know if you've seen the subsequent sort of post-documentary things that have come out from UFC on Fight Pass, where they have the guys mic'd up afterwards. And when Jon Jones and Dom Reyes embraced, Jon said, man, this rematch is going to be, he basically said, this rematch is going to be fire. Can't wait for it.
Interesting. Yeah, here's the thing. If they gave Jan Blachowicz a title shot, could you really cry about it? Could you really say, oh, this is a travesty, this is a miscarriage of justice, this is just not fair to the division? I don't think you could make that argument. So at this point, if they gave it to him, you'd be like, well, I sort of understand it, right? I mean, listen to the win streak he's been on. Now, I know he lost to Thiago Santos back in 2019, which feels recent, but before that, he had beaten Devin Clark, Jared Cannonier, Jimmy Manuwa. He finished Nikita Krylov. He obviously ended the career, basically, of Luke Rockhold. The Jacare fight sucked, but he came on the winning side of it. And then he, as you pointed out, Corey Anderson wasn't just a guy he beat. Corey Anderson was red hot going into that fight, and then he stopped him in the first round after losing to him. By the way, did you go back and ever watch the first fight between Blachowicz and Anderson? Have you seen it recently?
No.
Blachowicz lost on 2 scorecards in that fight, 30-25. Like, Corey Anderson beat him from pillar to post, okay? It was not close. And then to come out and look like this, dude, I take my hat off to Jan Blachowicz. He has clearly gotten so much better. He is not the fighter he started out. Listen to some of these old losses. Corey Anderson, Jimmy Manuwa, Alexander Gustafsson, okay. And then Patrick Cummins. He lost to Patrick Cummins.
He wasn't the same fighter back then.
He is such a different fighter now, and it deserves to be recognized. That being said, I just didn't like what Jon and his team were doing, where, look, it's their right to do, of course, but they were standing outside the cage acting like the Dom Reyes fight didn't happen. Like,
if you're Jon Jones, Jan Blachowicz, for as dangerous as he is, and
it's a winnable fight.
It's a very winnable fight. I mean, Jon Jones could decision the crap out of that.
But just to act like last weekend didn't happen, right. It was again, it's absolutely their right to do that. But that told me that they see the Dom Reyes fight as a lot more difficult, because you can't argue that the Blachowicz fight, while new and not necessarily undeserved, is more lucrative. It's not.
I think there's a way to let everybody win. This is the scenario, okay? Jon has been very busy lately, right? He fought 4 times in like a 6-7 month, or 3 times in like a 7-month window. Then now he was just back. If he wants to fight Jan Blachowicz like on a quick turnaround, like 2.5 months from now, and then you set up and provided that he wins, then you set up to that Jones-Reyes rematch later this year in a prime spot where you're essentially saying this is Jon Jones' swan song at light heavyweight. He's either going to go out on top, and then we can still do Dom Reyes against somebody else for the vacant title, depending on what would happen, or He might go out losing the title and passing the torch and then moving on to heavyweight. If you're going to set up for a larger event that way and you want Jon to just to get a chance to break the division titles record, I believe he's one behind Mighty Mouse's record right now, that kind of pleases everybody. But I would think Dom Reyes would not need an interim bout in between. If you're basically telling Dom, you got next. We're going to run this one back and you got next.
But okay, again, I don't think that's the end of the world if they did that, but the one thing that is missing from Jon Jones' career is he's never had to have an immediate rematch. Dom Reyes arguably won that fight. Again, he didn't, but arguably did. And if you get right back after it, here's the thing, dude. Jon Jones is really good about making in-fight adjustments and then adjustments between fights, adjustments two different ways. I'm not saying if you do an immediate rematch, you take away that advantage because he still has all that information processed and he can go look at the film, but it does keep it on a more level playing field. To me, the longer this goes, the less people will care. They'll be like, well, does Dom really need it if the division? Because by the time May comes around, and let's say he beats Blachowicz, okay, so it's 2, 3, 4, 5 months after that, the division begins to roll. What if Anthony Smith goes in there and just bludgeons on the finish?
No, I want to call a timeout on your Anthony Smith.
Let me just make a scenario here very quickly, and I'll be quiet. Where Anthony Smith, let's say, beats Glover Teixeira in April in Nebraska. Then folks are going to say, well, what about Dom Reyes versus Anthony Smith? He can't hold on. Either he has next or he doesn't.
You've got a hard-on from here to Harrisburg on Anthony Smith. You want him next for Jon Jones, you want him back in there. I mean, the guy lost 5 one-sided rounds for the most part. Where is this coming from?
Fair enough, but he also rebounded against Gustafsson, finished him, by the way. This should be noted.
Fair comeback.
Now, he has been on injury, but he has a Glover Teixeira fight coming up. You beat Gustafsson, you beat Teixeira, you're sitting at the top of that division. Even that wouldn't necessarily demand a title shot, but the point being is, what they're going to say, what they're ultimately going to try and produce is a scenario where they say, well, wow, Anthony Smith has rebounded. He's back at the top of the division. He should fight Dom Reyes, which, by the way, would be a great fight. I'm not even saying that. But my point being is, if you're going to give Dom Reyes a rematch, it's now or it's not now. That's my whole point.
All right, what about this extra scenario right here, right?
Shoot it. Shoot.
What if Jon Jones' next fight? I mean, because we've already established that, look, if Israel Adesanya comes out here against Yoel Romero in a fight that, like, good Lord, like shovel it down. Like, let's do it right now, please.
Do that again? Do that again?
Please. No, just no. Tips will not be accepted. Luke, if he just blows him away and calls out Jon Jones, that's something that could happen as a distraction.
Right.
The same thing with the idea of Jon going up as a one-off rather than sort of just moving full-time to heavyweight. If any of those things happen, would you accept? Now, I hate interim titles, and I hate it when they're not necessary. When somebody gets in a motorcycle accident and they're out for a year and a half, they're necessary. UFC now uses them as essentially #1 contender bouts, right?
Right.
Jan versus Dom Reyes for the chance to fight Jon Jones when he would return to 205. I guess in a way you please everybody with that as well.
I will say that here's what I'll say. If Adesanya goes in there and blows the doors off Romero, right? Not just wins some split decision that everyone contests, but I mean really truly puts it on him, okay? If he does that and then calls out Jon Jones, I'd be okay with him skipping the queue for what it might mean. And in that sense, yes, Dom Reyes, you have to say, well, Dom, you had your chance, you couldn't do it. A super fight between this, essentially in UFC anyway, undefeated challenger in MMA coming up and making history. Yeah, I would step aside for that. But for any other light heavyweight in the queue right now, no, I would not say Dom Reyes should step aside for that. But there's a lot of ifs going involved.
And we got to just double down on, hey, Jan, you got the job done. Not only did you get the spectacular knockout against maybe the hottest guy at that moment in the division outside of the two guys that just fought for the title, but then he turned right to Jon Jones and sold the point.
Sure
and
did.
Pointed at him and went back to the well to the camera. That is how you do it. I'm going to give Jan Blachowicz a lot of credit for that bounce back right there. That was very well done.
And again, a lot of people want to write him off. I even tweeted about it. I was like, again, I still think Reyes should get the immediate rematch. But I even said, man, this guy's improved a lot, and it's not just that night. And people were like, oh, but he beat Corey Anderson in the first round. What does that really mean? Well, first of all, Corey Anderson is a good fighter. I wouldn't call him an elite fighter, but he's a very good one. And number two, it's not about just that night. It's about what the tape shows over the course of his career. A lot of guys get pegged early on. Oh, here's this European guy who can beat the lowest level of UFC light heavyweights, but he's not much more than that. But he is much more than that. He did get better. He has improved.
Guys like me calling him Jan Blachowicz for years before realizing.
Well, now this is the whole point. It's like, do I even need to learn this guy's name? He's going to be out of here in no time. But the reality is he actually really, truly did get better. Now, how good is he? I don't know if he can beat Jon Jones. We can have that debate a separate time. But he's a legit high-level UFC light heavyweight, and that's not a small thing. That's very hard to be, especially when I think a bunch of us have been like, just a European donk. Who is he? He's a good fighter, and he got better even at age 34, 35, and 36. That's hard to do, and he did it. Credit to him.
I do want to say this. I felt bad for Corey Anderson. He had been on the kind of run, and by the way, I love when you go outside the cage to try to get a fight for
There's
yourself.
levels to
He
this.
went to the card show in New Jersey, or whatever it was, to get in Jon Jones' face. Remind me of it. Remember when Antonio Tarver wanted Roy Jones so bad?
Yeah.
He was showing up at press conferences and grabbing microphones. Like, Roy, what do I have to do? Piss in your front lawn to get a fight?
Yeah.
To see that end, it was very reminiscent. Remember when Matt Brown went on that run where it looked like a real title contender, and it ended at the Robbie Lawler fight? But that build to that, it was like, this guy's going somewhere, this might happen, and then it just stopped. I kind of feel like, even though Corey Anderson will give him the chance to bounce back, I feel like this was that hot run where he had a chance to go all the way, and now, before the fight even started, really, first attempt at a shot, it looked like he was shooting, Jan caught him.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like, we'll move on to the next topic, but between the last fight and this one, it shows you why people are wrong about Corey Anderson and why they're right about him. Like, everyone had counted him out in the last fight. He goes in there and just shows you what he's made of. And then in this fight, people who are like, what do you really make about Jan Blachowicz, who again lost on 2 scorecards, 30-25 the first time they fought, now is much better. And also, oh, right, Corey Anderson sometimes loses in these bigger fights against just much more seasoned, not much more seasoned per se, but much better strikers. When he makes a critical error in that way, it's like, okay, we might have been wrong about you, but we're also kind of right too.